Imagine a city where the laws of physics are not absolute rules but merely suggestions. A city where gravity, heat, and momentum are nothing more than lines of code waiting to be rewritten. Welcome to a special episode where we step outside our usual timeline to explore a universe that operates entirely on the ultimate system glitch. Today we are diving deep into the world of Tavan, the setting of Robert Jackson Bennett's brilliant masterpiece, Foundryside. On the surface, Tavan looks like a gritty Industrial Revolution-era city, dominated by massive walled enclosures owned by 4 ruthless merchant houses. It is a city of extreme wealth and crushing poverty, a place of smoke, canals, and towering architecture. But there is no electricity here. There are no steam engines. The entire civilization runs on something called scriving. To understand this world, you have to understand that scriving is not magic. It is programming. It is the art of hacking reality itself. Thousands of years ago, humanity discovered a lexicon of symbols that the universe inherently understands. If you draw these symbols on an object, you can convince that object to ignore the laws of physics. For example, if you want to build a carriage that moves without horses, you do not build a motor. Instead, you take the wooden wheels and you scrive them. You write a complex string of commands onto the wood, telling the wheel that gravity is not pulling it down towards the earth, but pulling it forward. The wheel, believing this new code, begins to fall forward endlessly, spinning the carriage down the street. If you want a wall to be impenetrable, you don't use thicker stone. You scribe the stone to believe that it is harder than diamond. But just like modern software engineering, scriving is incredibly dangerous. If a scriver makes a syntax error, if they write a contradictory command where one symbol tells the wood to heat up and the other tells it to freeze, the logic of reality crashes. The object cannot process the paradox, and it violently explodes. Scrivers are essentially the software developers of this world, and they work for the 4 massive merchant houses, which act like greedy tech monopolies. These houses hoard the lexicon, patent their specific code strings, and rule the city with absolute corporate power. The people outside their walls, living in the slums known as the commons, are treated like disposable hardware. Enter Sancia Grado. Sancia is a thief living in the commons, but she is not your average burglar. She is a walking hardware glitch. Years ago, Sancia was a slave used in a horrific illegal experiment. Someone grafted a scribed metal plate directly into her skull. This operation left her with a unique and agonizing ability. Sancia can see the code of the world. When she touches a scribed object, she can feel its programming flowing into her mind. She can touch a locked door and instantly understand the variables needed to open it. She is the ultimate human debugger, a master hacker in a city run by code. But this power comes with a devastating price. The metal plate in her head is always processing data, leaving her in constant pain. Worse, she cannot endure skin-to-skin contact with other human beings. The sensory overload is so intense that touching another person feels like being burned alive. She is isolated, cynical, and survives only by taking the most impossible heist jobs the city has to offer. One night, Sancha is hired to steal a small, highly secured wooden box from a heavily guarded warehouse on the waterfront. The payout is massive enough to buy her freedom and maybe figure out a way to remove the plate from her head. She pulls off the heist using her unique abilities, bypassing scribe security cameras and traps that would have killed any normal thief. But when she finally opens the box, she doesn't find gold or state secrets. She finds a key, a simple ancient golden key. And the moment she touches it, a voice echoes inside her mind. The key says hello. The key's name is Clef, and he is a sentient artifact. In the world of Tavan, creating a sentient object is impossible. It requires a level of coding that simply does not exist anymore. But Clef is different. He has no memory of who created him or why, but he possesses a terrifying power. While normal scrivers have to write physical commands on objects to change their reality, Clef simply talks to them. If Sancha approaches a massively complex multi-layered vault door, she inserts Clef into the lock. Clef communicates with the door's code and essentially says, "Hey, you are already unlocked." The door looks at Clef, accepts his administrative authority, and opens. Clef is the ultimate master password to reality. He has root access to the universe. Sansia realizes very quickly that whoever hired her to steal Clef doesn't want to pay her, they want her dead. She is now the target of every assassin and corporate hit squad in Tavan. To survive, she is forced to team up with the most unlikely allies. First is Captain Gregor Dandolo. Gregor is the son of the wealthiest merchant house in the city, but he rejected his corporate inheritance to become a city watchman. He is a heavily armed, scrived-up super soldier who genuinely wants to enforce justice in a city that only cares about profit. He has a shield that absorbs kinetic energy and boots that allow him to jump over buildings. He is an idealist in a corrupt system. The second ally is Orso Ignacio, a master scriver and chief innovator for House Candiano. Orso is the classic grumpy senior developer. He is a genius at writing reality code, and when he discovers Clef, he realizes that the key is a remnant of a dark and forgotten era. Orso brings along his brilliant but socially awkward assistant, Berenice, who uses logic and mathematics to weaponize scriving in ways nobody else has thought of. Together, this makeshift hacker collective begins to unravel the mystery of Clef, and what they discover threatens the existence of the entire world. Through Orso's research, they learn the terrifying truth about the history of scriving. Thousands of years ago, the world was ruled by godlike entities known as the Hierophants. The Hierophants didn't just write code on wood and metal, they learned how to scrive human beings. They realized that the human mind, free will, and consciousness are just complex algorithms. The Hierophants wrote commands directly into people's bodies, overriding their free will. They created armies of slaves who could not feel pain, who could not disobey, and who were connected to a hive mind. The Hierophants eventually destroyed themselves in a massive apocalyptic war, taking the highest levels of the lexicon with them. Modern scrivers in Tavan only have access to the basic building blocks of that ancient language. But Sansia and her team realize that the people who hired her to steal Clef are trying to resurrect this ancient power. A shadow faction within the merchant houses has discovered a way to compile the lost code. They want to use Clef to unlock an ancient server, a massive buried vault containing the original lexicon of the Hierophants. If they succeed, they won't just control the economy of the city. They will rewrite the minds of everyone in it. They will become the new gods of a terrifying programmed reality. The climax of Foundryside is the ultimate cyber heist translated into a fantasy setting. Sansia, Gregor, Orso, and Berenice must infiltrate the central foundry of the most powerful merchant house. They are going up against thousands of heavily armed guards, automated scribe turrets, and reality-bending defenses. Orso and Berenice are frantically writing malware and viruses on scraps of metal to hack the enemy's defenses on the fly. Gregor is holding the line, using his modified armor to fight off waves of corporate soldiers. And Sansia, guided by the sentient key Clef, must navigate a labyrinth of lethal code to reach the core. In a breathtaking finale, Sansia is forced to push the hardware in her skull to its absolute breaking point. She doesn't just read the code of the Foundry, she merges her consciousness with it. She becomes the network. She feels the city's infrastructure, the water pumps, the defensive walls, the weapons, all connecting through her mind. It is a moment of pure, agonizing transcendence. She manages to rewrite the foundational reality of the enemy's fortress, crashing their system from the inside out and stopping the villain from accessing the ancient lexicon. Robert Jackson Bennett's Foundryside is much more than a fantasy novel. It is a brilliant, gripping commentary on the modern age of technology. The merchant houses of Tavan are a direct parallel to the Silicon Valley monopolies of today, hoarding data and algorithms to maintain control over the masses. The concept of scriving forces us to ask terrifying questions about our own world. If human behavior can be predicted and manipulated by algorithms on social media, are we already being scrived? If a corporation owns the software that runs your car, your home, and your communication, Who really owns your reality? Santiago's journey from a discarded, isolated tool to the leader of a rebellion proves that no matter how complex the system is, there is always a vulnerability. There is always a glitch waiting to be found. The book leaves us on a massive cliffhanger with the realization that the war has just begun. The ancient code of the Hierophants is still out there, and Clef's true. Purpose is far darker than anyone imagined. Foundryside is a masterclass in world-building, a story where the pen is literally mightier than the sword because the pen writes the rules of the universe. If you ever wondered what it would look like if a master hacker was dropped into the middle of the Industrial Revolution with a sentient skeleton key, this is the story for you.